This is Hemant.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. If you like what you're listening to, please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast. Some of you have done that, and we wanted to give you a shout out. Thank you so much to Tasha M., Matthew J., Brian B., Stuart L., Ines B., and Rebecca R. Thank you for your support. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, we are going to do a quick run-through of so many different things because there's a bunch of stories we wanted to talk about this week.
Bonkers week.
It was a bonkers week.
I say that every week. Every week is the craziest week of everyone's life.
Yeah. Remember when we said, 2016 was ridiculous. 2017 will at least be calmer.
It's actually the one-year anniversary of us recording our, 2016 shit show thing. And God, were we naive.
Yeah, 2016 was a great year.
Well, it was a year of a lot of people dying, which I would say isn't super great, but oof.
But it only got worse. Welcome to hell, everybody.
In hindsight, what were we expecting in 2017?
Yeah.
There was no indication it was going to be better.
Yay, 2018. It's going to be more hell until maybe November. We'll see. Anyway, let me start off by talking about the big Supreme Court case that took place this week with that baker, the Christian baker, who, just to give you the short recap of that story, two gay guys in Colorado walked into Masterpiece Cake Shop, and the owner of that cake basically found out they were a gay couple who wanted to celebrate their marriage, and he's like, nope, not going to give you everything that I give to all the other customers. And the question is he allowed to do that?
He would have made them a birthday cake.
Sure, because I don't want to participate in your wedding, or at least that's I don't know what he said, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. They weren't even getting married. They were already married.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't
they
know
just
that
wanted to celebrate. They wanted to have a party to celebrate the wedding that already happened. So they couldn't even get a celebration cake that said, congratulations, you two. This guy said no to them right off the bat.
Cool, super chill.
And from all the accounts of people who were actually there watching the case unfold this week, it sounded like Justice Kennedy, usually the swing vote in these types of cases, was leaning toward the baker, saying that, he could, and you don't know if he's playing devil's advocate or if he was actually leaning in that direction.
Yeah.
But it sounded like he was saying, the guy should have the religious right to say, I don't want to endorse whatever you want to take that to mean, your thing that goes against my religious beliefs. But again, this is a public place. This is the same sort of cake he was offering everybody else.
Right.
They just wanted to pay him money for the cake he makes everybody. They didn't want him to come there and serve the cake to people at the wedding. He wasn't a part of it. So,
but his side of it is that he has the right to refuse service to anybody for any reason.
For his religious beliefs, because how dare you make me do something that violates my religion?
Right. Which... And I'm not trying to I'm just trying to see all sides of it. If you're in a bar or something like that, there's always something we have the right to refuse service to anybody for any reason. So,
but
is
as
that
long
what
as
they're...
No, because at least at the bar, they're applying it universally.
Because
if you're being belligerent or something,
gotcha.
It doesn't matter what religion you are.
I guess what I'm asking is that what he's trying to hang his case on?
I don't even think so. I think he's trying to. Obviously, we're not lawyers. He's just saying this is my religious belief, and the government protects my right to a religious belief that I can practice it as I choose. The other side is saying
involves discrimination.
The other side is saying, well, there's also laws against discrimination, and Colorado has laws against discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. So which of these competing values should win out? And it could, and you don't know, we don't necessarily know what the extent of the ruling would be, even if the baker wins.
Right.
Does it apply only to him, to the Colorado, in this type of situation? Or does it say any owner of any business can discriminate against anybody they want on the basis of their sincere religious beliefs?
Right.
And who knows how far it could go. And that's kind of the scary thing. We could be opening the door to a ton of faith-based discrimination, or it could just be, even if the baker wins, it might just be a very limited case that, all right, he won this round, but discrimination is still not okay in the long run. That's what's frustrating about this, that it opens the door even a bit to saying, if my religion says I don't like you, for whatever reason, then you should be able to, that should be able to play out. even in the cases of business owners who are doing something that is for everybody.
So do you know, so in Colorado specifically, LGBTQ people are a
God,
protected
I hope I'm
class.
right when I say that, but yeah, I think they are a protected
for
class.
the sake of conversation.
Yes.
So what he's doing is no different than saying, like, I'm not going to sell cake to a woman because I think she needs her husband's permission
Something
for
like that.
whatever. So God, I can't imagine how, not to like do a slippery slope thing, but like where does it end?
Yeah, where it ends is like...
Can you not sell a cake to a Muslim person or can you not sell a cake like specifically for like a bar mitzvah? I don't know if there's bar mitzvah cakes, maybe, but like, would that fall under it? Like, I don't know.
Well, I guess the problem with those examples is that at least if you say, I don't make these types of cakes for these situations, you're just putting that out there and saying, I don't do that. In this guy's case in particular, he does make wedding cakes.
Just not for gay couples.
And by the way, they didn't say, we want you to inscribe it like, congratulations to Bob and Dave on your wedding. No. They just wanted the same wedding cake he sells already. They didn't say this is the inscription we want, and he refused to sell them the thing he already sells. He was discriminating against them for being gay. It wasn't that they were asking him to do something special that he didn't want to do. And this is one of the arguments, which is you're already providing the service.
Right.
Now you're just discriminating against your customers.
Who gets it?
That's the problem. And that's kind of where I think the ACLU and the other side wanted to draw the line, which is if you just didn't want to offer, religious cakes. The same baker says, I don't make Halloween cakes either because that goes against my beliefs. But fine.
Wait, what?
I know, it's weird. But it's like...
I have a lot of questions about that because people get Halloween cakes.
Yeah, that's a different issue
Am I focusing
altogether.
on the wrong thing again?
Yeah, it's all good. But it's like, but he doesn't make that for anybody. You can't say, I want you to make a Halloween cake because he doesn't make them.
Right.
But he does make wedding cakes. And this gay couple just said, oh yeah, we want to buy one of those things that you're selling. Here's some money. And he's like, no, not to you. And that to me is where it's like you're going too far now.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not like anyone saying write a message of hate, which you could say like the bar, for example, like I just don't do messages that preach hate, or I don't do messages that advocate for something that maybe I oppose to, which is where he wanted to go with this.
Sure.
But they didn't even say write this inscription that you might disagree with. They didn't get that far in the conversation.
Yeah. Well, because like a couple of years ago when this sort of cake thing first was coming up, I don't think it was this specific cake, but in general, this for some reason
issue with florists or everyone else.
Cake. There was somebody who like refused to do like a Nazi cake or something like that, and people were like, "See, you're discriminating against that." Like,
no, you could say no to hate speech. That is okay. That's not a protected class.
Yeah, Nazis aren't protected class in the U.S. I don't think. I don't know. It's it just sucks. Like what? Just what? Like why? Why though? Like why?
But the interesting thing about this to me, outside of the legal ramifications of this, is it just perpetuates this idea that if you're an evangelical Christian, Post Secret, that wonderful, it's fun to read website.
Yeah.
People send in their secrets, and the guy is he doesn't discriminate in terms of religion. Like, he's like, he'll have religious postcards and atheist postcards, whatever. It's all good. He posted something saying something about how evangelical has come to mean something very different to a lot of people. And the responses, I think he asked, like, what does evangelical mean to you now?
In a Christian context or just the word?
The word.
Okay.
To society. What does it mean to you? And the responses were...
conservative and mean.
Yeah. They were like nasty responses, but not in a mean way. Just like when I think of evangelical, I think of not happy thoughts. This is not these are not people I want to be associated with. I don't think good things about them. And this sort of controversy, just like the Hobby Lobby one, it just evangelical has come to mean very conservative, not just conservative views, but discrimination, bigotry, anti-gay, anti-woman, anti-everything. So, if there's anything good that comes from this case, is that evangelicals continue to dig the hole. And we haven't even talked about Roy Moore yet. Like, they just continue digging this hole that just defends the worst sorts of behavior in the name of faith.
But they still claim the moral high ground.
Right.
Which is
which I'm sure makes sense in their head, but not to
Right?
anybody else.
Yeah. Speaking of Happy Labby, I drove like 15 minutes out of my way yesterday because I needed 6-inch embroidery hoops and I couldn't find them near me. And so I went to the Joann's near me, nothing. Went to the Michael's near me, nothing. There's a Hobby Lobby. Didn't go to that one. Went to the Michael's in Oswego.
So you drove like way out of your way just to avoid Hobby Lobby?
Sure did, my friend.
Nicely
and it
done.
felt great.
Nice.
Thanks.
Do you ever eat at Chick-fil-A?
You know,
You hypocrite.
okay. First of all, the only time I had Chick-fil-A was they were giving away at the Lake Red Line stop downtown.
Okay.
When I used to take that to work, they were giving out breakfast sandwiches.
Okay.
And I had one, and it was very good, but
Oh
I did
my
not pay
God.
for it. Am I good? Am I good?
I'll debate it.
It's fine. Wendy's has good chicken sandwiches.
So while we're at it, let's talk about Roy Moore.
Oh, good. I have
Because
some
that
stuff
election
in Roy Moore
is
too.
that election is this Tuesday. Here's the most interesting thing I saw. A couple things this week. One is that there was one of his victims who said he signed my yearbook. Like,
Oh yeah,
saying,
I saw a headline about that. Tell me more.
she was
Tell me more.
obviously under 18. And he signed her yearbook with not a creepy message, but the
Just a
fact
big
that like
penis.
I know you. Yeah, he signed it basically saying like I know you, I wish you the best. But like clearly they knew each other, and he was in his 30s, she was clearly underage, which
why
is the
is he signing
point.
her
He's signing her
yearbook?
yearbook. She added a little inscription underneath his signature saying this is the date that he signed it, so I can remember that. You know what I mean?
Like at the time she did that?
At the time, she's like,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
this happened. I don't know when she wrote that, but she's like, he signed this on this date.
That's weird too.
And so, of course, the right is like, see, she forged it. She wrote this herself.
That's what they're calling forgery?
Yes.
Oh,
The
Christ
fact
on
that
a
she added the
fucking
date,
cross.
so that's in her handwriting. They're like, see, she made it all up. It's like, no. The stuff above the date is all Roy Moore,
Wait,
allegedly.
is-
Like, that's what he denies. But, like, that's all real. She added this thing at the bottom and admitted, like, oh, yeah, I added that little caption underneath. And so they're calling the whole thing a forgery because that's what they
But
do.
wait, what did was the yearbook message that incriminating?
I mean, it wasn't incriminating on its own. It didn't say, like,
just
we
in
had fun
conjunction
in the
with
car
everything.
that night.
Yeah.
No, it just said,
Remember
like,
when I put my P in your
yeah,
B?
I wish
Sorry,
you, thank you for your graphic. Kids are listening to this.
Censored myself.
He's just like, I forgot specifically what he said, but I wish you the best. You
Sure.
were nice. It was nice to know you, whatever.
30-year-old signing her yearbook.
I don't
Was he
know.
associated with, I'm
The
really
second you
bothered
leave
by
high
that.
school, stop signing yearbooks.
Yeah,
It's weird.
not even. Did you sign yearbooks as a teacher?
After I left, we didn't even have I'm sure I
didn't
did
have
as a teacher.
Yeah.
But as a teacher, like,
No, that's
it was
fine. I
great
just
having
don't
you in
remember
class, that sort of thing.
What the?
But like random people,
Maybe that's like a
Strangers?
thing from a bygone era of
Maybe.
like maybe your yearbook was more of a sort of
But
testament of your life at that
the
point.
point of it was
I know I'm going down the
Roy
wrong path
Moore
here.
says, I didn't even know these women. They're all
Right.
making this up. It's like, no, you knew me.
You
You signed my
super did.
yearbook. Like,
fucking
don't say you
monster.
don't know me.
You know what else is really chill about Roy Moore? He was asked the last time America was great again. America was great. Did you have this?
I didn't write it down, but go for it.
So
When was the last time America was great?
wait, let me find the quote. So he said, and I quote, "I think it was great at the time when families were united. Even though we had slavery, they cared for one another. Our families were strong. Our country had a direction."
And if I have that right, he was responding to the only black guy in the crowd who was asking a question.
That I didn't realize. I just printed these out on my
But
way
yeah,
over.
it was the time of slavery. That's when
Yikes,
America was great. For other reasons,
here's the thing-
obviously, but like clearly inconsiderate of what was going on to a lot of other
But
families
here's
at
the
the
thing
time.
I don't understand about this quote is
Yeah.
that like he wasn't even saying, "Oh, the late 19th century or early 19th century," or like
He didn't have a date.
he didn't have a
attached to
date. It was literally just a time when there was slavery,
Well,
but also families. Like, right?
I
Am
was surprised he actually went to slavery because you could have said like, oh, the 1950s when
Which
everything was
is-
like Leave It to Beaver,
which
but that was
is-
before the Civil Rights Act. Like it wasn't a good time for black people then either.
or women. Yeah, I
Or
mean,
women.
And I feel like post-war America, post-World War II America tends to be this very idealized time that many conservatives point back to as this time where the wife stayed home and vacuumed in her pearls and The men
Yeah.
went out and had a job and had a 3 martini lunch, which God, can you imagine? and
Right,
and
the
yeah,
good old
it's-
days,
the good
just
old
like
days,
that.
the happy days, the Leave It to Beaver era.
Which, by the way, according to historians, like that wasn't what was going on in the 50s either. Like, Leave It to Beaver, like that was fiction. That's not what America was like.
Well, and maybe if you were like a straight white wealthy landowner, maybe you did have a very nice time in the 50s, but like that was at the expense of everyone else. And there's also this idealized like, oh, people got married younger and they stayed married longer and they didn't get pregnant out of wedlock, which like false. Well, they did stay married longer, but they were not necessarily happy marriages.
Right.
Like women got knocked up all the time and got sent away to a convent or whatever. Like this weird like fetishization almost of the 1950s and early 60s is gross and dumb and frankly dangerous because it chooses to like not acknowledge most people who did not have
and yet
good lives.
he didn't even give that answer. He gave one that's worse.
Yeah. What the fuck, Ray Moore? Like, okay, last time I posited the fact that
Roy Moore,
sorry, is like a straw man built by liberals, and nothing is happening to prove me wrong.
Right.
So I've been really into conspiracy theories lately. So I think here's my latest conspiracy theory: is either a robot, maybe, or an android of some kind, obviously sophisticated, but definitely like controlled by the government or liberals to see how far conservatives will go.
Yes.
So that's my theory right now.
Which means they can like churn the dial up.
Yeah.
And
this
keep going.
This isn't recent. This happened
what will it
earlier
take for
this year.
Republicans to denounce this guy for real?
Okay, I'm really into this particular conspiracy theory. Yeah, like do we think it's more likely?
Like sexual assault didn't do it.
Sexual assault didn't do it. Pedophilia.
Praising the time of slavery didn't do it.
Pedophilia did not do it.
Alleged pedophilia didn't.
Getting fired from your
sexual
fucking
assault
job
anyway.
Twice didn't do it.
What else could he do that they would be like, well, whatever?
Right now, today's the 7th?
Sure, I don't know.
It's the 8th. It's Friday the 8th. It's 1:30 p.m. Timestamping it right now. What is a thing that could happen between now and Roy? Why can't I remember that? Roy Moore's election.
3 letters. It's hard.
Well, fuck off. What is worse? What is the worst thing that could happen that conservatives would still vote for him? Is it murder? Is it unintentional manslaughter?
You know what? I was thinking about that. I'm like, what story could come out this weekend that would still not move the election?
I think it had something to do with abortion.
If we found out he had one.
Or forced.
Force someone else to have one on his behalf or something.
I think that would.
Maybe.
But
But even then, they'd be like, well, he's forgiven now, so
I was
whatever.
Gonna say, and they also do there's no moral abortion, but my abortion, you don't know my situation. I had to do it. You were irresponsible. I was unfortunate.
Right,
I don't know what that voice turned into. So that's what I would say. So between now and, what's it, Thursday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Couple more days.
Oh, yeah, because elections are on Tuesday. Good job, Jess.
Yep. And here's another thing that was interesting. He has a spokeswoman now, Janet Porter, who is a conspiracy theorist, of course. And she was on CNN, and Anderson Cooper, after debating all the stuff that we just talked about that's in the news, he's like, well, let me ask you some basic questions about things Roy Moore has said in the past.
Oh, okay.
So does he still think homosexual conduct should be illegal? Because he said that in the past. She didn't answer that question. She deflected and was like, just
you said this is
stuff.
Anderson Cooper?
Yeah.
Okay.
He also said, like, does Roy Moore say 9/11 happened because we've, quote, distanced ourselves from God? Because he said that. Or that Sharia law is actually taking over communities right now in the U.S. And he pointed to some city in Illinois, too. And, like...
Our city?
Yeah. It wasn't Chicago, but it was somewhere else. But all these things are things Roy Moore has said. We have him on tape saying it. And Janet Porter, his sports spokeswoman, just wouldn't answer any of those. She's just like, how dare you attack us?
Well,
and every time, the strangest
not how
thing...
attacking works, actually.
Yeah, every single time she's like, this is all about abortion. Like, Abortion Jones, his opponent, she literally called Doug Jones Abortion Jones. Like, stop trying to make...
Not even clever!
Stop trying to make fetch a thing. It doesn't work like that. But this is the thing. And I sincerely have a question for you about this, but this is their whole campaign is hinging on this idea that Roy Moore opposes abortion, and Doug Jones, who's also a Christian, supports abortion rights. And for a lot of Christians, Roy Moore could do the worst sorts of things, but because he opposes abortion, they'll still get his vote because he'll appoint justices who feel the same way. And this is the only thing they care about. They care way more about unborn people than people who are living.
Yes.
Certainly 14-year-old girls that they don't care about. But if you're like 14 days to be born, they got your back.
Yeah.
But here's the question that I had for you. If you're the Democratic Party, would you be okay with the Democrats supporting a Democrat to run against Roy Moore, who was also against abortion personally, and said, I would never vote for legislation that advocates for abortion rights or anything? Like, I don't support abortion personally, whatever. Should Democrats start supporting anti-abortion candidates in red areas, since that may be the tipping point for a lot of voters?
I am kind of tired of women's health being a bargaining chip. It feels like when we are dealing with, okay, well, this, we're in a red state and maybe we can get somebody in. It seems like the first thing that people are willing to sacrifice is oh, well, we'll get somebody in who's anti-abortion or anti-choice. And I'm fucking sick of it. I'm my right to control what happens to my body is not some sort of like special interest. It's something that I think is extremely important to me personally, and to, I would say, the majority of women really care about how much control they have over their own fucking body. So no, like, I get it because, but
I totally agree with you, and you're totally right about it shouldn't be a bargaining chip. Women's health shouldn't be a bargaining chip. Just to push that even further, if that means a Democrat wins that race, obviously that person would be outnumbered by other Democrats, whatever. So it's not like that Democrat's anti-choice views would play a role in this stuff or whatever. Like, does that change anything? The fact that, we get that seat because that guy's not going to support these types of justices or whatever. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I haven't thought entirely too. But would it make a difference knowing that, okay, this person just won't be like a rubber stamp for everything Donald Trump wants, which is good.
Yeah.
Even if he's wrong on this issue. But you know what? He's outnumbered by other Democrats, and we need his vote for other stuff, which is more important.
I do get that.
Not more important,
I understand that that's a compelling argument to be made. Of like, it's the same thing that we talked about a couple weeks ago when the Al Franken thing came through, which he just resigned yesterday, I think.
He just resigned. But he's great for women's rights on the issues.
And we talked about that exact thing of, okay, this person is probably a net positive for women in the country because he's voting on pro-women's rights. But like, where do we draw the line? Where's our line in the sand? And for me, I know that I wouldn't, if it was somebody who was pro-choice and pro all the things that I agree with, but anti-gay marriage and would support limiting the rights of gay people to get married, I wouldn't consider that. I don't think, and whether or not that person necessarily had a realistic chance of
if that was the tipping point or something for people.
I just don't know why it's always this pro-choice thing that it comes down to. I just can't think of anything else that I should be asked to give up, to sacrifice, to support kind of the quote-unquote greater good of, I wouldn't vote for somebody who I thought was going to make guns more available or decrease mental health care or take away, rally against early childhood education. I wouldn't do any of those things. And I wouldn't fucking vote for anybody who didn't believe that I have the right to do with my body what I want. And this isn't at you, but I'm really fucking tired of this conversation over and over and over. Hammond, what right in your body would you give up for the greater good?
Let me tell you. I don't know.
But like, would you let somebody tell you that like, oh, well, you're brown, so you're not gonna be able to do X, Y, and Z, but he's gonna be good for
other stuff.
Yeah. I think it's a fucking garbage argument, and
just
I'm fucking tired
add
of it.
one point to the whole idea that it might be strategic for Democrats to nominate an anti-choice Democrat in these red states is that if you did that, if let's say Doug Jones was also anti-abortion, but everything else stayed the same, I think you would probably alienate a lot more of the Democratic voters who might turn out to support him if that were the case. So I don't even think it's strategic necessarily, just because you might win over a lot of those evangelicals who might consider a Democrat given the Roy Moore situation. But you're going to alienate a lot of other Democrats who might otherwise be passionate about this candidate.
And kind of the thing that you're suggesting, and I know it's hypothetical, but the thing you're suggesting, I feel, is no different than what the conservatives are doing with Roy Moore. That, oh, well, I don't approve of everything he does, but he's a warm body on the right side of the aisle, and he's going to do the things I want him to do.
We got to sacrifice a few 14-year-olds. We'll do it because we need his vote for anti-choice judges.
It's the exact same thing of like, even if I thought someone was going to stack the bench with pro-life or pro-choice judges, I don't know. I think it's just. I'm just.
You feel bad about it because you have a conscience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't say the same about a lot of his supporters who just seem totally. They just want to toss aside any tie between Roy Moore and all the horrible things he's done. They just want to ignore it.
Yeah, it's no. I'm really tired of having that question kind of levied. And this isn't directed at you, but I feel like that's always the conversation that's had is like, well, you know, Tim Kaine was great, but he was personally like, and I didn't think he would enact.
But he was personally pro-life
I still
or
wasn't
whatever.
Fucking thrilled about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still not super happy about that.
By the way, while we're on this topic, the conversation about who should replace Al Franken because the Democratic governor gets to choose his replacement. They haven't announced it as we're making this.
Yeah, how quickly does that turn around?
As soon as possible. As soon as he retires or leaves, resigns, whatever. The good money seems to be on the lieutenant governor of Minnesota, who is a woman who is awesome, who's also said, I'm not going to run in 2018. I don't care about any of this. Like, I'll be your warm body for the Democrats, but, like, I'm not playing this game. I want out. So she's a placeholder, really, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
No.
She's just like, I'll be here because you need somebody, but, like, the Democrats who actually want to play politics, they can do the primary and run for the seat. That's an option. Yeah. But then you're putting Minnesota back in play, which Republicans could win, and that would be bad. One option that I've seen that I think would be really interesting is if the governor appoints Keith Ellison from Minnesota, the Muslim congressman who is the ran for DNC chair and is also one of the people running the DNC now. He's an awesome progressive candidate, and it would just shed he's not a woman, which that would be nice, especially in the face of why Al Franken's resigning. Yeah. But he's such a good candidate, and he has a lot of support nationally, which a lot of congressmen and women don't.
As long as it's not a white dude, I feel like I'd be okay.
Something different.
If they put in a white dude, I would be displeased.
All right, let me go to a different story altogether because this one just amused me and infuriated me, but not in the Roy Moore sort of way.
Okay.
Pat Robertson on the 700 Club.
Oh, Pat.
Somebody asked him on a show, he does a Q&A session, and she said, I'm unemployed, so I'm getting unemployment checks or benefits or whatever. Should I still be tithing and giving money to my church? And of course, Pat Robertson said, yes. Of course you should give money to, people like him and his ministry and everybody else.
My Rolls Royce needs gas.
And he also added that, you want God to, in broken English, he said, you want God to prosper you and give you employment. Like if you tithe and you give some of your money to God through your church or me, that's how you'll find work again.
Cool.
Like, oh my God, it's not just bad advice. It's horrible to tell someone, if you want to find work,
give me your money.
Give me your money. And by the way, I know you're poor and maybe you have kids who need this stuff more.
Food and shelter.
But I need more.
Yeah. I mean, I've been unemployed for a minute and I still donate to Planned Parenthood every month, so.
Right.
It's not much, but yeah, no, that's gross. I think tithing is weird. Not weird, but this weird, like, insistence on no matter what. Because it's at some point, it's not even like, oh, I support this cause or this community or this church or whatever. It's more like bribing God, right?
Keep me in your good graces.
Right? Isn't that what it is?
Yep.
I don't get religion.
And it's one thing if you're part of a church that needs it, but like if you're going through a hard time, your church doesn't need it as much. Pat Robertson really doesn't.
Money.
Yeah. Let's go to a happier story.
All right.
So years ago, Kim Davis of Kentucky, she said all the gay people can't have their marriage licenses, even though it's legal nationally now. Mm-hmm. So they would come to her office saying, hey, I'm gay. Here's my partner. We need a wedding marriage license. And she's like, I'm not signing it.
Cool.
And so they had to do this crazy workaround to get it, and they shouldn't have had to do that. Now, one of the gay guys whose marriage license she said no to went to her office this week and said, I want to fill out the paperwork to run against you in 2018. And so there's a great picture, you'll find it online, of David Ermold is his name, signing the paperwork as Kim Davis looks on. I will say the one thing when you hear about their conversation, she was very gracious, strangely, about all this, saying like, here's what you need. Here's all the paperwork. May the best candidate win.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, that's what you should be saying.
Really?
That's good.
That's big of her.
Like, where was that 2 years ago when you were telling people they were sinners and whatever? But whatever.
Wait, didn't some shit come out that people were calling her an adulterer because she's been married?
Oh, she's been married 4 times. Yeah, I mean, she's a giant hypocrite.
Oh, yeah. But like, I thought something came up recently. I could be wrong.
Nothing new, just more.
Oh,
but
yeah,
you know what? That would
monster.
be it would be even sweeter justice, I think, than Danica Rome, the transgender candidate from Virginia, beating the quote chief homophobe. Like that was awesome.
That was awesome.
This would be even sweeter.
You think?
Oh yeah.
No, we might have peaked out with Danica.
Just because I didn't even the chief homophobe that she beat. Honestly, never heard of him before that election. Not being from Virginia, and like maybe I came across his name once when he made some awful homophobic comment.
Yeah.
But other than that, he wasn't on my radar for anything because I don't live there. But Kim Davis, well known nationally as a bigot, as a Christian. And for someone, I don't know this guy's religious beliefs, but he's more like, I'll do the job.
Right.
Like for someone like that to beat her at her own game, that would be like, you wish karma were a real thing.
It's a nice menorah you have up there.
Yeah, I know. We're all, and there's a Christmas tree over there.
And there's a Christmas tree. This is just decked out for the holidays. Very nice.
Totally.
So I've got a thing.
Go.
I guess the Pope is considering changing the Lord's Prayer.
From what to what?
Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so as the world's worst baptized Catholic, I don't know the Lord's Prayer off the top of my head, but there is a bit called
Something about
lead us not into temptation is the line that he's considering.
Okay.
So I guess they are concerned that, and it's subtle issues, but what they are afraid that it conveys and has conveyed since,
forever.
Called Catholicism 101 is that it's implying that the Lord is like pushing you into temptation as opposed to the devil is let me
so
read.
They're saying it's the devil who leads you into temptation.
What he said is, and this is translated from Italian, but this is what the Pope said, it is I who fall, but is not he who pushes me into temptation. A father does not push me into temptation to see how I fell. A father does not do that. He helps you get up right away. What induces into temptation is Satan.
Okay, so the devil leads you into temptation, but God protects you from that, is what they want to say, but maybe the wording of the Lord's Prayer makes it sound like God's the one leading you into temptation.
Yeah, I guess what they want to change it to is do not let us fall into temptation, which is passive voice, right? Like instead of
God will protect us is the implication there.
But I mean, not even that he'll protect us. Yeah, it is. But lead us into temptation is active, right?
Yeah,
God is bringing me into temptation, whereas this is do not let us fall. The action is on me, not on anybody leading me. Anyway, I think it's interesting because the only other thing I know about the Lord's Prayer or Catholic Church I know from a John Mulaney sketch when he talks about he goes to church and it used to be may God be with you, and it's supposed to be, and also with, it used to be, and also with you, and now it's in with your spirit, and he fucked it up in church, and he was like, wait, what?
We
So
changed the tradition?
Yeah.
Who
So
knew?
anyway, I think I find it really interesting because I think one of the things that people really like about Catholicism is it's steeped in tradition and there's ceremony to it and pomp and circumstance and all that.
Well, they changed the masses way back when from Latin to English too,
and
right?
that was relatively recently.
Yeah.
I think in the 50s or 60s. I think within my parents' lifetime, they changed it from Latin to English.
So traditions change.
Which
no one would even notice after like a little while.
No, for sure. But I just think it's like, I just want to be in that meeting room when somebody like on the agenda is like, so, you know, the Lord's Prayer, like sort of the main jam of our religion. I think we need to punch it up. Let's toss it around the table. Let's see what we can come up with.
Let's rewrite Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting, I think it's interesting.
Religion, it can always change
Right.
when it's convenient for you.
Right.
Here's one for you.
Yeah.
In Florida,
Yes.
they have
Florida.
Obviously church-state separation, First Amendment in the Constitution. They have the Establishment
do not
Clause.
apply in Florida.
The Establishment Clause says you
Yes.
can't promote or no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting it. Well, Florida's Constitution has a similar clause that says, don't use the government to promote, endorse religion or the lack thereof or anything like that.
Be cool,
or the free
guys.
exercise thereof, I should say. Well, there is a committee that meets every 20 years, and it's a constitutional committee. Do we need to make any changes to it? Because let us discuss it. And then if we, as a giant committee, agree that something needs to be fixed...
Who makes up this committee?
I'll tell you in a second.
Oh, good.
If they decide, if the whole giant committee says we need to fix something, then they could get it on the ballot for voters to decide.
These committees are really good at coming up with a unified voice and opinion.
So this Constitution Revision Committee... they have their little subgroups to talk about different things, and there's a Declaration of Rights subcommittee on this thing. Well, here's the thing. There are 37 members of the giant committee. They are 15 of them are appointed by the governor, who's a Republican. 9 of them come from the Senate president, who's a Republican. 9 of them come from the Speaker of the House, who's a Republican. The Chief Justice of the
sensing a
Florida
pattern.
Supreme Court... he gets to appoint 3 of them. And I don't know what the Chief Justice's political views are, but he was appointed by a Republican governor at the time.
So draw your own
And the Attorney
conclusions.
General, who's also a Republican, gets 1 appointee. I think that adds up to 37.
Is what's
but-
his face still the governor of Florida?
Rick
That
Scott.
snake-looking motherfucker.
That's the guy. So 37 members.
Voldemort.
So, like, this is a Republican group of people.
Yeah, you don't
And the
say.
subcommittee was
I
like...
bet it's largely white and male.
I didn't check. But this subcommittee
Yeah.
decided to propose
Oh, no.
that we should eliminate that ban on funding religion.
Oh, cool.
Like,
that was so unexpected,
Let's
Hammett.
remove the prohibition against using public revenues in aid of any church, sect, or religious denomination or any sectarian
You
institution.
can
Let's
knock
just
me over
ban
with
it.
a feather. I'm
The
shocked.
subcommittee
Shocked to tell
said
you.
5-1, let's get rid of it. Let's put it in front of the voters. And I can presume that the entire giant subcommittee, when they vote on this, is also going to approve it, which means in 2018, the voters in Florida will get to decide whether church-state separation using Florida taxpayer money can go to religious institutions.
Okay.
I don't know all the legal implications of this.
I was about to kind of belie my lack of understanding of how government works, but how does that work with, like, you know, the First Amendment of the United States?
Right. I mean, that applies to federal money and all that stuff. But I don't know if groups can challenge this, even if it passed or whatever. But there was a professor at the University of Florida who was there at the meeting where they were discussing this stuff, since it's a public commission. And he wrote an article about what he saw at this subcommittee and everything. And what he wrote is, what I witnessed was not prudent and unbiased deliberation, but a show scripted for public consumption. Several commissioners didn't even pretend to represent the people and instead were justifying a clear agenda. One of the guys even said, the commissioner who runs the place, like, faith is a public good. Our job, as the commission, is not to be successful, it is to be faithful, he said.
Hoofa doofa.
Yeah. So this is just a disaster waiting to happen, which
man.
I know you could say that about many things, Florida, but here's what this could mean. Florida is currently ranked 46th in the nation when it comes to K-12 education.
Cool.
If this passed, in theory, public money could be funding private Christian schools, which have a long history of not teaching kids stuff, which would make it even harder for kids to learn anything, which would make Florida's whole education system even worse. It's just a bad idea waiting to happen.
I wonder if this is one of those things that I feel like a few years ago, something like this happened in another kind of Bible Belty state. And then whoever passed it was like, oh, it can go to Muslim schools? What the fuck? Like, nobody told me that.
I remember vaguely that really did happen. Like, when we wanted to give public money to private schools, we didn't mean Muslim ones.
Yeah, literally the only ones I'm thinking of are where my children go. Right. Isn't there a pretty strong Satanist representation
in Florida? I mean, there's a handful of vocal Satanists.
Hey, guys. This is your call to action.
Start a school, people.
Get on this.
What would their mascot be? Would it have to be the devil?
I mean, Hinsdale Central near us is the Red Devils, so and there's precedent, I guess. People have. Did you know that? God, this might be apocryphal, but the Rays, the baseball team, used to be the Devil Rays,
right?
And they had to change it because people were mad that it said devil, even though Devil Ray's like a thing. It's like a fish,
right?
A mantid, right? Nope, probably a different thing. Sorry, guys, don't know anything about sea life. Anyway, yeah, it would be the devil, or would it be what's his name?
Baphomet.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't try to say it because I would have fucked it up so bad. I would like that. I would go to that school. I would send my kids to that school.
Make it happen, Satanists. Speaking of which,
Florida.
Mike Pence.
Yeah.
Why is he sticking by Donald Trump after all the crazy shit that's happened?
Wait, I know.
Yes.
Because he's a spineless sycophant.
That could be it.
Okay.
So in The Atlantic, McKay Coppins wrote this long biographical piece about Mike Pence. And one of the many things we learn about Mike Pence, I mean, none of this is surprising information if you followed him at all. But one of the things he pointed out is that according to everyone who knows Pence, like, why would a guy who's a conservative and actually lives it out as far as we know, like in terms of, living his life in a very straight-laced sort of way, won't even meet with women without his wife being present, that sort of thing. Like, say what you will about him, but like when he says he's a conservative Christian, he's not Roy Moore. He's living it out. He doesn't do anything that might contradict it as far as we know. But then why would you be the right-hand man of a guy who's totally not like that?
Because he's a spineless sycophant.
And part of it is that he believes this is where he was meant to be, that this is what God's plan is for him. And maybe that's because if Trump gets impeached or resigns or something, God wants him to rise up.
He has those eyes on those prizes.
Pence himself wouldn't be interviewed for the piece, but it sounds like Pence is just going to keep supporting him, all the things that he would never support in his life or his church, all because he believes this is part of God's plan for him, which is why he's doing and supporting all these things that totally are not part of the religion he advocates.
It's all the same garbage. It's all the same reason that people are supporting Roy Moore. It's all Roy Moore. Why?
I don't know.
It's all the same thing. It doesn't, it's just this sort of blind faith, forgive the term, that, what we're doing is the right thing to do and at any cost, even though, it blew my mind that he agreed to be on Trump's ticket in the first place because Trump is a literal waking nightmare person, especially if you're a Christian, or a woman, or a person of color, or a non-Christian. I don't understand. Listen, he can play, I'm a demure little Christian boy, and I'm just serving my God and my country. But that motherfucker is power hungry as anyone.
He's a politician.
He's a politician. Yeah. It's just fuck him.
I didn't catch this, but
wife.
Beth Kaplan, who's one of the writers for Friendly Atheist, noted, and she is religious, she noted that there is a story in the Bible, Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 11, where Jesus is shown all the kingdoms of the world by the devil, and the devil says, this can all be yours if you just agree to worship me. And Jesus says no.
Is that the last temptation of Christ?
I don't know.
God, we should read
Mike Pence did not say no. Mike Pence is I'm taking all your kingdoms. We're here.
100% correct.
You're not doing what Jesus would do, literally.
No.
That's the story in the Bible that you are avoiding.
Yeah.
And you had plenty of opportunity to say, I'm a good Christian guy, and Donald Trump, while I like the party, you're not a good Christian guy, and I am not going to stand by while you do these things. That's what a better Christian politician, you would think, would have done.
But, Hammett, who on the right has done that? The thing is, yes, we can say that about Mike Pence because he is very showy with his religion and loves to flaunt it. Mm-hmm. But that can be said about almost any GOP representative across the board. Most of them, the majority of them, from what I understand, are Christians.
They are.
So why, we should expect Mike Pence to stand up, but what about literally anybody else in the fucking country? No, none of them get a pass. None of them, they've all stood by and watched this guy be a monster. They know he's an adulterer. They know he's a man who sexually assaults women gleefully and frequently, and they don't care. So, yeah, Mike Pence, you're accountable, but so is everybody else on the Hill. I think it's fucking garbage, and I hope the GOP never recovers from this because they can no longer pretend that they have not even the moral high ground, but any morals, period.
Let's see, I remember thinking that when George W. Bush was in office, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, but George W. Bush, he was a fucking idiot, and he'd made really poor decisions, but at least he was dancing the dance. At least he was
At least he was trying.
Well, he was saying the right words.
That's the one thing he was totally never doing.
Well, I mean, no, but he was living the life of this, good Baptist.
He was trying to be a conservative Christian Methodist. I don't remember.
Anyway, but he was at least a believable Christian. If nothing else, he's a believable Christian.
His scandals were not of the scandal variety.
No,
they were bad policy.
He wasn't a scandalous president. He was just a doofus.
A bad one.
Yeah, he was a bad president, and God knows I don't want him back or anywhere near the presidency.
But I remember thinking, surely no young people will ever vote for a Republican ever again after he leaves office. And I thought, Obama was elected 4 years, 8 years, whatever.
Right.
By the time this administration is done, we will have basically eliminated all the GOP supporters by that time because no one could possibly want George W. Bush back. Nope. Totally
well, no, everybody keeps
living
because we have fucking health care.
Yeah.
It's Obamacare. It's keeping them alive. I don't know. I think I'm really curious to see what happens 20 years from now because I was just talking to my brother about this.
You won't be around to see it.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. None of us will.
You guys at my funeral play this, and it means I haven't killed me. We were talking about the fact that the same people who were protesting the Vietnam War and, living the summer of love in the late 1960s are the same people who were, doing coke and running Wall Street in the 80s. That's the same generation of people. It's people in their 20s and their 60s. In their 20s in the 1960s and in their 40s in the 1980s. So, is it that you just tend to get more conservative as you get older? And is the same thing going to happen to our generation, the millennials?
I grew up with that saying, oh, yeah, you're a liberal now, but you'll get more conservative as you age. And there was this great tweet. I don't know who wrote it, but it's you know what? They told me that too, and now I'm older, and man, I'm liberal as hell right now.
Yeah, I'm definitely more liberal now than I was
more.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the GOP was different when people used to say that. So
that's a good point. That's a really good point. Also, there is a book called A Generation of Sociopaths, and it posits that baby boomers are more likely to be sociopathic than any generation before or since. And the fact that they were protesting against the Vietnam War wasn't because they believed war was bad, but they personally didn't want to go to war.
Yeah,
and
nice.
Anyway, it was an interesting. I heard it on the Daily Zeitgeist. They talked about it. Anyway, I thought that was interesting and tangential.
I got one more for you here, and then I swear I'm done.
Oh, I've got more.
Ravi Zacharias. I think we talked about him earlier. Christian apologist, been around forever.
A+ name, F-.
Everything else.
Yeah.
He was in the news for a while, about a year ago, because Steve Bauman, this atheist, pointed out all these problems with his resume that he puts on the back of his books that he had on his website. For example, he called himself Dr. Zacharias.
He had an honorary doctorate.
But he had honorary doctorates. Like, he's not a PhD. He didn't write a dissertation.
And I do want to stand by my prior claims. If I got an honorary doctorate, I would make everybody call me Dr. Jessica. I don't give a fuck.
Well, you can't do that if you're this guy. You're not supposed to do that.
Well, try and stop me.
All right. So he called himself Dr. Zacharias. He also said he was a visiting scholar at Cambridge University. He said he was a senior research fellow at Oxford. And then, like a couple weeks ago, Steve Bauman was like, by the way, there's more. He called himself, he claimed to be chairman of the Department of Evangelism and Contemporary Thought at Alliance Theological Seminary.
No, this takes some fucking balls.
Very fancy. And here's what Steve has pointed out over the past year.
Is that the one that doesn't exist?
None of this stuff exists. Here's what Steve pointed out. He has honorary doctorates, not actual doctorates. So, like, that it's wrong to say you're a doctor without pointing out.
Sure out.
Definitely don't use the phrase doctor. But he wasn't a visiting scholar at Cambridge. He was a visiting scholar at a school that had some loose affiliation. Yeah. It's not with Cambridge. He wasn't a senior research fellow at Oxford. They have no recollection of this guy. And by the way, the chairman of that Department of Evangelism and Contemporary Thought, there was no such department at the school.
I love it so much.
Whatever. He's lying about all of this. And finally, I think about a week ago, Ravi Zacharias Ministries on Facebook said, we've heard these rumors spreading that people are talking shit about Ravi. Dr. Zacharias. They're like, we're going to respond to this soon, but it's Thanksgiving week and we're all on break. So we'll respond soon. Well, they finally responded. And what they basically said, none of it was an apology.
No.
Of course not.
Of course
not. But here's how they responded to the doctor thing. While Ravi personally does not brandish his credentials and routinely asks not to be referred to as Dr. Zacharias even by employees, our organization bears his name, and as such, we would like to clear up any misunderstanding. Like, dude, it was on the website.
I'm sorry.
I looked at their website. It said Dr. Zacharias.
There was a 100% chance that he wrote that himself.
Oh, yeah.
There was you know what? I'm coming around on this guy. I love him.
They added, here's one of my favorite bits. Whenever someone called him doctor, we always tried to correct it. Sometimes other entities, such as publishers or institutions where Ravi was speaking, have incorrectly presented aspects of his credentials.
Sure.
Listen,
and we added it to our website.
I've published a book or two. I've spoken at places. You know how they do credentials? They say, "Hey, Hammond, can you send us your bio so we can use it?" And then I'm like, "Here you go."
Yeah.
That's how it where do they pull this stuff from? Maybe they pulled it if he didn't send it to them. Maybe they pulled it from his website where it said doctor and it had all these
whole
things.
Situation. I think it's hysterical.
Oh my God. So what about the doctoral degree? Currently, they said 11 members of our team have earned doctorates.
Cool.
Who cares? That wasn't in question. Ravi is not one of them, nor has he ever claimed to have an earned doctorate. In fact, he wishes he had that sort of education.
Bless his heart.
Then they added, he has a Master's of Divinity from Trinity International University, has also been confirmed with 10 honorary doctorates, which, by the way, they all come from Christian schools that are mostly not accredited.
Yeah.
So who the hell cares?
Sure.
But none of that is an apology for calling himself doctor. And then this is where I got really mad. One more thing. They said doctor did appear before his name in some of our materials,
but we
which is an
immediately.
Appropriate and acceptable practice with honorary doctorates. No, it's not. It's never that way. No. But now we're not going to do that anymore, they said. But here's the thing. In Ravi's homeland of... I'll wait till you're done drinking. In Ravi's homeland of India, for example, honorific titles are customary and are used frequently out of respect for elders.
I definitely almost did a spit take all over this table.
Okay, do you know when he lived in India? It was more than 50 years ago. He's lived in Canada and I think in the U.S. since then. Like, 50 years... My parents haven't been here 50 years, and they have more than acclimated to the culture.
Respect his culture.
His culture from when he was a kid.
Yeah.
No. Like, as a brown person, I'm allowed to say, get over it. You don't live there anymore. You don't get to say, well, they do it this way in India. You haven't lived there in 5 decades. You don't get to say, well, this is how they do it in my homeland that you lived in when you were a kid.
That's incredible.
Oh, my God. So, and by the way, I haven't even gotten into the whole sexting extortion scandal that he's involved with, which is what he spent the bulk of his time responding to.
Cool.
Because that has nothing to do with lying about his resume. But seriously, here's the thing that bothers me more than anything else other than just people lie about the resume. It's happened to atheists, too. We've talked about it in the past. This isn't a Christian thing. This is a him thing lying. But David Barton, the Christian pseudo-historian that makes up how our founding fathers were all Christian.
Yeah, he's the worst.
He lied about his doctorate, too,
Yep.
even when he was asked point blank. So you have a doctorate? He's like, shifty eye, shifty eye. Yes. It's like, nope, same thing. You have an honorary doctorate from like a not real school. Not the same thing. But I've heard this guy speak. A lot of Christians will be like, if you just listen to this guy, you'll believe in Jesus. He's not bad. He's a good speaker. He knows how to work an audience. And I say the same thing about Joel Osteen. Like, there's a reason Joel Osteen is popular.
Right.
He knows how to talk in a way that people will listen.
It's those big teeth.
It's uplifting, whatever. People will listen to the guy. But Joel Osteen says very clearly all the time, to the point of annoyance, I didn't go to seminary. I got this job because my daddy had this job, and then he died, and they were looking for someone to replace my dad, so they asked me to do it, and so they threw me into the fire, and like this, I learned how to do it.
Yeah.
Joel Osteen's very clear about that, and I appreciate that honesty about it, because he's really good at what he does.
Sure.
Zacharias, the same thing. Honestly, I think it would be a more compelling resume to say he didn't have a higher education.
But
he
look
just
how good he is
learned
anyway.
how to, he read up on it. He really is convinced of the truth of Christianity, and now he wants to spread it to you. At least that's honest.
And that's
think
what we
that
do
would
every
be
week.
right. That would be a compelling thing to hear. But no, he tried to embellish his resume for no reason whatsoever.
And in such an easily disproven way.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever. He's a liar, and his apology didn't include an apology. So
Okay, you name me a man who's ever apologized for anything that actually included the words, I am sorry for my actions, instead of, I'm sorry if you were offended, or I'm sorry if you were confused.
I'm done.
Okay, couple quick, I can't decide if I want to talk about this last thing.
All right.
Wait, where did my...
We'll just edit it out. We do a lot of editing on
Oh
this
my
show.
God, so much editing. Can you... We're like the Radio Lab of atheist podcasts.
Minus all the things that make it awesome.
Like the facts. Anyway, so there is a man in Texas named John Bernard Feit.
Okay.
F-E-I-T, I think it's
Okay.
Feit. He is a former priest
Okay.
from Texas, and he just got convicted of murder
Oh, hey.
and might be in prison for 57 years. This kind of piques my interest of a true crime atheism crossover.
Uh-huh.
A woman named Irene Garza in 1960 was a teacher in South Texas. She's a beauty queen. She went to confession at a church in McAllen, Texas. She was reported missing the following morning. Big search in the Rio Grande Valley, and her body was discovered. She'd been sexually assaulted and killed. They figured out her priest did it, who she went to see for confession. So, way to go, Catholic Church again. So yeah, and this happened in the 60s. So they're asking for him to go to jail for 57 years because that's how long ago it was. Like that's how long he's been free, and the lawyer is saying, like, don't look at this 85-year-old man in front of you. Think of the 30-something guy who, like, straight up murdered a chick.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I just thought that was an interesting thing that priests are monsters all over the country.
Hey, look at that.
And then, I don't know if I want to talk about this or not, but there's an article about... quote, is hugging still okay? In the wake of Weinstein's sexual assaults accusations, men ask, what is acceptable to women in society now?
Oh, God.
And it's really, I read it. It's, God, I think The Guardian, I didn't credit it. But I don't know. I don't know why men are so confused.
If you have to ask,
what,
it's probably a problem.
Like, why is it, Hammond, you're a man. Why is this so confusing for men? Like, I don't want men to comment on me or touch me. Like, I don't know why. Like, I just don't fucking and I don't understand how somebody can say like, well, I told somebody her hair looked good. Is that okay? And not understand that like you understand the difference between saying hi to somebody and like
or complimenting somebody in an appropriate sort of way and just being creepy.
Yeah. And like, do men sincerely not know when they're being fucking creepers?
No.
No, they don't know.
No, they don't know when. They think they're doing you a favor.
And the funny thing is, like, how up in, who was it? Woody Allen, I think, said something about, yeah, you can't even wink at a woman in the office anymore. Like, yeah, you don't have a fucking right to wink at somebody. Like, why is that worse to you? That's the thing that's happening. To them, it's worse that they might feel uncomfortable because of something they had said than the fact that women have been feeling uncomfortable for literally all of the expanse of, like, space-time. Like, women have always felt uncomfortable and always felt like they need to watch what they say and watch what they wear and watch what they do and watch how they flirt and watch how they touch. Always, 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 always. Because if it's taken the wrong way, it's always their fault. Whereas men just now are like, what? I can't pat a woman on her knee in public? What? How am I supposed to know what's too far up her knee? Can I touch her ankle? Can I touch her thigh? Can I touch her boobs? Can I touch her shoulder? Like, how, like, if you, just don't fucking, dudes, fucking chill out. Just try not touching people for once in your goddamn life. And I'm looking at you, Joe Biden. I love my Uncle Joe, but goddamn it, stop giving people massages. They hate it. Everyone hates it. But like, dudes, just don't. For once in your fucking life, just don't. Just think about how that woman is going to feel when you like rub her back. She doesn't want you to fucking touch her back. And no, maybe it's not as serious as like telling somebody if they don't suck your dick, you're not going to get, I'm sorry, kids, you're not going to get a promotion. But like, also, don't touch people who don't want to be touched. I learned that in fucking preschool. Don't you teach your kids that? Like, don't touch that stranger. That stranger doesn't want to be touched.
All the time.
And you know what? Kids are idiots. They don't know not to touch, so we have to teach them. Men are grown-ass men. And how do they not think, like, it's just fucking, it is inconceivable to me. I think what's fucking driving me crazy is, like, are you telling me you've been roaming this world for 50 years and have reached some level of prominence in your business life and still don't understand the social norms that we are all trying to live by? Or are you just... So it's either that you're, like, literally some sort of savant that manages to, like, be a business genius while not understanding, like, hey, touching women is gross and creepy. Fucking stop doing it. And flirting with, like, 16-year-old girls is highly inappropriate, old dude. So it's either that they genuinely don't understand, or they're so desperate to be victims themselves that they're the ones that are put out that, oh, I can't... What if I'm unjustly accused of touching a woman even though I didn't mean anything? It doesn't fucking matter if you meant anything by it. Don't touch me. Or it's...
This is the story you didn't want to talk about, right?
Yeah, I'm just mad at men a lot of the time. I'm mad at men. And I know that's a really unpopular thing. I get your emails that you think I'm too hard on white men. But, like, I'm so fucking over... protecting the men. We protect men's feelings at all costs to everything else. Nobody will say to Donald Trump's fucking face, hey, 19 women have accused you of rape. Why do you think it's okay to tell Al Franken you're right, of what, sexual harassment at all?
Least.
Of some sort of sexual misconduct.
Yeah.
Why are you okay saying, oh, Al Franken should have stepped down. He's a monster. He's a bad guy. He's a hypocrite. Nobody will go up to his fucking face and be like, no, you're just as bad. You've been accused of rape by your wife. You are an adulterer. You are none of these like glowing things that you pretend you are. But it's just, all we do is protect how men feel all the time. And I'm really getting tired of it. And I don't know. If this made you mad, that's fine. You can email me. I'll read it and like... ignore it probably. But I just don't understand why this is such a hard concept. I have lived 32 years, forgot how old I was, and I have never like accidentally grabbed a guy's dick. Like literally, it's never happened a single time in my entire life. I've never grabbed a guy's ass or patted it in a funny way that I thought was appropriate. It's just simply never happened. And like, I'm not a particularly smart or like socially aware human being, but I've managed to do it. And I don't understand how all these successful motherfuckers can't. Anyway, like, it's just a different thing from, like, the Weinstein thing that is it's so blatant and it's so, like, this man is asking women for sexual favors so he will help their career.
Or you think it's okay to masturbate in front of women. George is there.
And it's just the fact that we can all agree on, but, like, to see, like, the Weinsteins of the world getting taken down, like, I'm sorry. If you are watching Weinstein and Louis C.K. and Al Franken and everything going down and you have something to be nervous about, then fine. But don't, like, yeah, your time is fucking coming, dude. Like, watch your back. That sounded threatening. It was threatening. But, like, don't pretend that you're the victim and that you might get sucked. It's the same thing as this, like, false rape allegation thing. The worst thing that can happen to a man is be accused of something that he didn't do or accused of rape that he didn't do. But nobody's like, isn't the worst thing in the world the fact that women are leaving their chosen careers because they're made so uncomfortable by this? Stopped being sensical a long time. I'm just kind of mad, I guess, about things in the world.
I don't have anything to add. I'm just listening.
No, I know. I really appreciate it. It's fine. Anyway, I'm just, whatever. Just, you know.
You should transcribe that whole thing for a cross stitch.
Okay. I'm sorry I yelled so much. I'm just really fucking I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of this. This is so dumb. Like, I'm so sick of the men we look up to being objective monsters all of the time. Like, how is this the world that we live in? How did we get here? And how have we not left yet? How have we not passed a place that men think they can't sit at a table with a woman without being misconstrued as sexual overtones? How is this the world that we live in?
Canada's a few hours north.
I don't know if they're any better, dude.
Man.
Not for this stuff. This stuff is deeper than our country. Hey, what's a good thing that happened to you this week? I'm just going to cry a little bit.
Give me a second. You go first.
Oh,
you need a happy pick-me-up.
No, I know. God, you know what? So I talked a couple weeks ago about I was doing a book club with my friends. This is the couple that I married who moved to Portland on me. Stupid Portland taking my friends. They just got a dog. Anyway, so we went around. We each have our genre of choice. So we read Pet Sematary for some reason, and then a cozy mystery was Amanda's choice, and it came back around to me, romance novels, and I reread a romance novel that I was super into in high school. It's by Nora Roberts. It's called Jewels of the Sun. I read it in 24 hours because I love it still. And the thing that made me happy is remembering when I was like a junior in high school in drama, I discovered my mom had like a cupboard full of Nora Roberts novels. And I rated them and was reading it and then passed that book around to almost every girl or woman in my drama club. And we're all super into like this romance novel. And I reread it. It kind of holds up. Like there's definitely some problematic shit, but God, I still enjoyed it. And I started reading the second one. And it really like fetishizes like Ireland as this like magical place of fairies. But I loved it anyway, and it made me very, very happy. And I literally didn't do any cross stitching yesterday because I was reading this book on the couch.
Nice.
Anyway, it made me unusually happy in this garbage fire world. What's your happy thing?
The baby's gurgling more and making little noises. He was cute.
Has he said
this
my name
week.
yet?
No, he hasn't gotten there yet.
No?
Still working on all the talking.
How old is he?
3 months? I don't know.
You-
He's turning human. He's reacting to stuff.
He can like see things now?
He's a little less of a robot.
Sure.
It's kind of nice for like a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun age.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to say about every age.
No, not every age.
Is your older at a fun age?
She is. She's having conversations.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Does she have
She's
interesting
dancing.
opinions?
She has very interesting opinions about everything.
Good.
But mostly about YouTube videos, about Happy Birthday song, And Monk?
Her birthday just passed. Or was...
I don't know.
Oh my God, haven't.
It was recent, I'm sure.
It was November-ish.
That sounds about right.
How are you a human being, Father?
I mean, it's not this month, so I don't have to think about it.
Jesus Christ.
So, but there's a tree in our house that she decorated.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
very nice.
It's very sweet.
Yes.
Cool. Oh, yeah, we put up our Christmas tree. My dog has not attacked it yet, so I'm pretty happy about that. That was a big concern. We watched Elf, and we were worried, and she slept the whole time. Nice. So,
where do we find you?
You can follow me on Twitter, Blueberry, BLUEBURIE.
I'm at Hemant Meta.
Yeah, my Etsy shop is Bitches Get Stitched Done. I am up to my ass in orders for the holidays.
Yay.
If you I'm taking orders for Christmas until the 10th, which is probably close to when this comes out. Sunday, this coming Sunday, so it'll give me some time. I'm currently at 22 open orders, and I hand make everything.
Oh man!
So I'm busy, and I spent yesterday reading a dumb romance novel. So I made questionable decisions all around. You can email us. Oh wait, where can we find you on Twitter?
At Hemant Meta, and you could go to patreon.com/friendly atheist podcast.
Yep.
To support what we're doing. And friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, email us. Let us know what's up with you. How are your holidays going? I miss you. I haven't heard from you. I think that's all we have.
We'll see you next week. Yeah. We'll be around.
Oh, man, our end of the year special is coming up. We have to schedule that soon.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get drunk on Mike again. It's going to be great.
Done.
Cool.
See you all later.
Bye.